Mission.
Hi, this is Joel Persinger. I'm the gun guy. Thank you very much for all of your support. I got to tell you, a couple things have happened recently. I ended up with Bell's palsy, which, as you can see, is mostly resolved. I still have a little bit of healing to do, but stuff works for the most part. The outpouring of prayers and encouragement and concern has just blown me away. I've been absolutely stunned and deeply touched by that. I want to thank you very much for all of your support in that way. It meant a lot to me, and I'm very, very grateful. By the way, you can watch GunGuyTV on all the platforms you're seeing on the screen right now, because we're trying to make sure that we're prepared for the YouTube crisis that may come again. You never know. YouTube can be kind of tough, and YouTube's not the only game in town, so we're in all these other places you can check us out as well. All right, now in this particular video, I want to get right to the point. I was, as I'm sure you probably were, deeply troubled by the murder of Molly Tibbits. I realize people die every day and people are murdered every day around the world, but here's this young woman who's 20 years old who simply goes jogging in a little town where you would hope that you were safe, and she disappears and they find her in a cornfield, and as it turns out, she was murdered. Now, I'm not going to get into the who murdered her and like that. That's not for me to do. That's for the investigators to figure out and the courts and juries to decide. But I do find it incredibly tragic. And I live in California. So we have some very restrictive gun laws here. You can carry a gun if you're 21 years of age or older, and you can get a concealed carry permit. And of the 58 counties we have in California, the vast majority of them will issue you a permit for personal protection or self-defense. It's the big city counties like LA County and so on that make it more difficult or impossible. But a lot of Californians have concealed carry permits. The problem is, if you're like Molly and you're 20 years old or 19 years old or 18 years old and you're a college kid and you want to go jogging, you cannot carry a gun because you're not yet 21. Even in states where you can get a permit, many of them require, if not most of them, require you to be 21 years of age to carry. So now you're jogging and you got nothing because by law, you can't carry a gun. And then we have all these nutcases that want to pass laws that make it illegal for kids who are 20 or 19 to buy a gun at all anywhere in the United States or in the state that they're in, which means they're even defenseless at home. Okay, California, let's talk about California now because I live in San Diego County. California is among the strictest states where firearms are concerned and the carrying of firearms, owning of firearms, and so on. It is not by any means the strictest state. A lot of non-Californians think it is. It's not. New Jersey, New York, a lot of those states on the East Coast particularly are much more draconian in their firearms laws than California is by far. California is a lot freer than those states if you can at all equate California with firearms freedom. We do have a lot more firearms freedom here than they do there. However, it is very restrictive. On the other hand, California is among the freest states in the nation where these little sharp implements are concerned, and those are knives. Now, we forget that the Second Amendment includes not just carrying a firearm, but also carrying a weapon, carrying arms, which are weapons. That includes guns, knives, sticks, or whatever. Now, there are some knife laws in California. You can't carry a switchblade. They have some issues with double-sided blades they call dirks or daggers. You can't carry those. There are certain kinds of knives that you can't carry. You can't carry a butterfly knife and like that. But as far as these folders are concerned, I showed you one. Here's another one. The folding knives you can carry. And there's no length limit under state law. Now, there may be in the city in which you live. Some of the cities, some of the counties have ordinances that reduce the length of the size of the blade that you carry. But the state does not have a length limit, and it does not have an age limit as far as I'm aware. Now, you'd want to check the laws and make sure, but as far as I'm aware, there is no length limit in the state of California as to the knives you can carry, and there is no age limit stating that you have to be a certain age before you can carry a knife. In other words, you've got a 15-year-old kid, you got a 17-year-old kid, you got a 16-year-old kid that's very, very responsible, and that child is out with friends doing things, and you want them to have a knife, as far as I'm aware, they can do that. Now, you're going to want to check with your local city ordinances and so on to make sure, and obviously they can't do stupid stuff with it, but they can be out there defending themselves. So a 20-year-old college kid, in California at least, jogging, can't have a gun, but they've certainly, in most places in California, can carry a blade. Now, here's the issue here, and that is that, oh no, by the way, in California law, fixed blade knives can be carried as well, and there is no length limit as long as they're carried openly. They can't be concealed. And folding knives like this, as long as they're not automatic knives, like a switchblade, you push the button and it opens up on its own. As long as they're not automatic knives like that, you can carry a folder of any length you wish. So this is a Cold Steel Raja 3. It's one of my favorite knives. They have a Raja which is about this long. So if you've got a big enough pocket, you can carry one of these. And these you can carry completely concealed, or you can carry them as clip knives, and the clip is visible, however you want to carry them. So California is very free where knife laws are concerned. Now here's the issue with knives. A knife is an incredibly powerful tool to defend yourself with if you are trained with it. So you need to be trained with it, just as you would want to be trained with a firearm. Obviously, a weapon of any kind is not a magic talisman. Just because you have it doesn't mean everybody's going to leave you alone. You got to learn how to use it. And we all know we can go to the range and we can shoot and we can talk to the local instructor there. We can take some classes with the NRA instructor. We can do all different kinds of things like that. We can take concealed carry course. Those are all very valid. We can go to Front Sight, Gun Sight, Thunder Ranch, pick one of those places. There are also other instructors local we can go to. But where do you go to learn how to use a knife effectively? All right, well, you can tell by this picture of my son and I that my family's been involved in the martial arts for a long, long time. This is Nick. I think he was, 10 or 12, and he had just, I think he was 12, maybe 13, and he had just completed his black belt test, which was about 7 hours long and exhausting. I got him involved in a youth Tang Sudo course, and I went through the course with him. So we did it together, which was a lot of fun. It was very hard on me, but that's okay. I've been involved in martial arts for a while. So we went through it together, and we took the test together, and there's a picture of us together. Now, you know my son, if you've seen pictures of him, is no longer a little guy like that. He's 6'6" and about 300 pounds, and he's an electrician. So he works very hard for a living, and he was also a college athlete. He's in the gym all the time. So it's not a guy that most people would want to bother because he can pick up this house and walk away with it. However, not all of my kids are like that. Not all of my kids are that big, and your kids may not be that big. And if you've got, for example, a daughter who's smaller, like Molly Tibbits, or if you're smaller, or if you're, you just want to make sure you got a tool to defend yourself, which is better than just these, then a knife might be the way to go. Where do you go to learn? Now, if you're in San Diego County, I want to urge you to contact either one of these gentlemen. The larger of the two is my former business partner, longtime friend, who is one of the best Filipino martial arts instructors I know. His name is Mike Ritz, and he has a group called Cannibal Combat. Now, he's actually my instructor, and I've enjoyed learning from him for many, many years. You can see this is Greg Moody, who's one of our mutual friends and has been with Mike as a student and kind of co-instructor for a long time. This is Greg and I going at each other live stick, no pads, and no rules, basically, except that we didn't want to hit each other in the head, obviously. So here we are with rattan sticks whacking the tar out of each other. And here's a picture of Greg's shoulder afterwards, so you can see that these things really do leave what we call stick hickeys. They hurt and so on. And I had just as many of those as he had, frankly. So it's good training, the kind of things that we were doing. Not everybody wants to do that. I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie, and so is Greg. He's one of the boldest and craziest and toughest guys I've ever met in my life. And we like to do this with each other because there's a consequence to being hit. You learn to hit the other guy and not get hit. And if you get hit, that's how you learn that. Well, that didn't work. I won't do that again. So every time I see Greg, and I'm privileged to do so, we kind of grab a stick, and this is what we do. So we're a little crazy. Mike's sort of the same way. Mike's just as he'll get in there and do that too. And likes doing it. But not every student wants to do that. Sometimes they do it with padded sticks or whatever. But you want the sparring that goes along with this kind of training. Now, the other fellow whom you can see standing with Mike there is a gentleman named Chaz Cianco. Chaz is a very good friend. He is the keeper of the keys of Pulahan de Robio Martial Arts, and he is a traditional Eskrima instructor and an excellent one. Those two men I've shown you pictures of right there are the best Filipino martial arts instructors that I have ever met, without question, bar none. If you're in San Diego County, I urge you, if you want to go take classes from either one of these guys, anybody in San Diego, take classes from one of these guys. And I put links to their Facebook pages in the description of the video. So we're talking about Pulahan de Robio Martial Arts with Chaz and Cannibal Combat Martial Arts with Mike. And it's just going to depend on which one you like better or what style you like better. But these guys are both awesome. If you're in a different city, I urge you to find a Filipino martial arts instructor there that teaches actual eskrima, not a sport where you put on the helmet, put on the hat, and the pads and tap each other. I'm talking about a fighting art. If you learn that, I'll tell you something about Filipino martial artists. If they have one of these, you might want to leave them alone because they'll cut you to shreds. Now, you've heard the old saying, never bring a knife to a gunfight. I'm going to tell you, if you're close up, never bring a gun to a knife fight because a guy with this, if he's trained, is going to win. So I wanted to bring that up to you because so many of us have kids, and when they leave the house to go do things, even if they're college kids, we worry about them. And we should, particularly in this environment. For crying out loud, Molly Tibbits was in a little town of 1,500 people. Stuff like this isn't supposed to happen in little towns like that. But it did. And we can't go everywhere we go afraid all the time. There's no reason to do that. But I don't go anywhere where I'm afraid because I carry a knife and I carry a gun. Well, not everybody can carry a gun. And if that's the case, find out what the laws are in your state, find out what the laws are in your location, and see if you can carry a knife, and then go and get yourself trained with it. Because up close and personal, I'm going to tell you, there is no more devastating weapon than an edged weapon, particularly if you know how to use it. And I've given you 2 great instructors in San Diego County. You can find some in your county or in your area, wherever you are. But again, in California, state laws are very free where knives are concerned, but there may be city and county ordinances. You've got to check into those before you carry a knife in those areas. And in other states, some states are very free where firearms are concerned and very restrictive where knives are concerned. So if that's the case, carry the gun and find out what you can carry as a blade and go get yourself some training with that. Obviously, this is not a gun video. I get it, and it's GunGuyTV. But I'm tired of watching these young people get hurt by criminals and be defenseless. So I wanted to bring up the option of a blade. Now, look, when I'm in another state that has a very restrictive set of laws where knives are concerned, I call them and I find out, and maybe I carry a little blade like this. But let me tell you something. In the hands of a skilled person, and I am one with a blade, this is an extremely deadly tool, even though it's only about 1.5 inches long. So even if you're in a place where you can only carry a small knife, then shop around, look for the smaller knives that are very effective, and see if you can find one that works for you, and then learn how to draw it, learn how to use it, get some advice from your instructor on what to carry and why, and you can become a very effective person at defending yourself with that blade. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I do have a lot of gun videos coming up now that I've kind of recovered and my eyebrows work and my eyes work and I can smile and everything else, which I couldn't do before. There will be a video coming up in a couple of days on a tactical light that was sent to me that I'm actually very impressed with. And we have some turning targets coming. We're going to look at those, some optics coming, laser sight coming, and it sounds like 1 or 2 guns coming, which is pretty cool. So we'll start looking at those in videos that will come up soon. In the meantime, wherever you go, whatever you do, please be safe.